Hey everyone, it's Kai
and Lafayette, and this is
The Theory of Living. Thanks for tuning in. We're able to bring you this episode thanks to our Patreon members.
Patreon is a subscription-based platform where people can provide support for content creators like us.
Thanks to our Patreon members and supporters, we're able to provide free content on the podcast and weekly episodes.
By being a Patreon member, you'll have access to our entire podcast library, full video and audio episodes, along with much more.
If you like this episode and you feel it adds value to your life,
or you hate it,
please subscribe on Patreon and or leave your review on Apple Podcast.
And don't forget to mention it to your friends over your next beer. Truly, thank you again, and we hope you enjoyed today's episode.
Yeah, we're back in the car again.
But guess where we are this time?
Mm-hmm.
Drum roll. Phoenix, Arizona, our favorite place.
Mm-hmm.
That's a joke. It's not bad, but not our favorite place.
Right.
If I could be anywhere else in the world, it'd probably be Thailand. Which, by the way, as you know, we're going to. We got all our things approved.
Yes.
So come Thursday evening, we'll be getting on a plane to go to Albuquerque, and then to Dallas, and then finally Japan, and last but not least, the land of the Thai. Beautiful Thailand.
Very excited. Very excited. I mean, obviously we have to test, get negative test result, but,
I'm confident we will.
Yeah. But if not, we're going to be back in the car again.
So much to look forward to as a listener out there.
Yeah. So, today, episode 9, I'm really proud of ourselves, doing a 9th episode, which is not easy, I think. And today, we're going to talk about anime. Yeah. So, first of all, I think it is necessary to define what anime is, right?
Shorthand for animation, but traditionally related to Japanese animation?
Yes. So, anime is obviously just derivative of animation, but I think over time it has gained its very own definition. And the reason we separate anime from animation films is that it has so many unique characteristics, right? And I think this is why it's not unfair to limit the term for that of Japanese rather than, that of any provenance.
I would agree. It's specific and a stylistic choice to communicate a message that is derived from Japan. So to call other things anime might be doing them a misjustice or, misrepresenting that rich history that probably a lot of people don't know about. That's been going on since the early 20th century, right?
Yes.
Early 1900s.
And obviously, all the anime work is not completely separated from, their traditional visual art, right? So I think that's why anime is so unique in its own way, because it has so many cultural aspects of the country.
I think here for the longest time, I think this is changing, but most people had a negative connotation associated with anime. And again, it's probably the people that, the vast majority of people that enjoyed it seemed to be, I'm just looking for a better word than the one that comes to mind, were termed losers. Not to say they were losers, but there is a stereotype, I think, associated with people that watched anime. I do think that's changing.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there were times when if your kids watch, anime a long time ago, not these days anymore, parents were not happy with it, the fact that they were watching anime, because again, unlike all the cartoons here, the subjects they explore are a little bit different, right? It could be a little more sexual, it could be a little more violent, things of that nature. So that's why a lot of parents were, they were not happy with their kids watching anime too much. But I mean, today I don't think that's the case anymore.
Yeah. Do you think that came from a place where a parent would see a cartoon
Mm-hmm.
and they would immediately, you kind of summarize in your mind what consists of a cartoon.
Mm-hmm.
For people in America, a lot of the time it was Disney. So,
Mm-hmm.
your kid can watch this. But when they saw the Japanese animation style,
Mm-hmm.
they knew it was so varied that they couldn't adequately, for lack of a better term, protect their kids from the potential material in
Right.
it.
Yeah.
So they were just naturally apprehensive
Mm-hmm.
to it rather than investigating. 'Cause
Right.
you and I both know there's a lot of great animes out there that
Mhm.
are applicable to every age group.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that's one of the biggest aspects of characteristics of anime, that it really targets all ages. It's not
Mhm.
really specific to kids or, I mean, obviously, even Disney movies these days, I think they try to do the same thing, appeal to adults as well.
Mhm.
And obviously, we can enjoy that, but also still, I think there's a lot of difference,
Yeah.
between anime and Disney movies here. I'm not targeting negatively here on Disney, but I'm simply saying that there are still a lot of differences, even though over time the Disney movies have become a lot more similar to anime in terms of how the industry works. For example, the merchandise, it really reached to all the categories, cultural categories, like merchandise, TV, and games
Mm-hmm.
and all that. But still, they become really similar, but still there's a lot of difference.
Yeah. As far as I know, Disney hasn't really engaged yet into the more adult content. The closest thing, right, would be probably Marvel, but they're quickly acquiring so many different
Mm-hmm.
branches of media and companies. So
Mm-hmm.
I would say their animation hasn't really.
Mm-hmm.
They've never made a movie that's been animated for adults. I don't think. Maybe there is. Maybe you could suggest it.
Right.
As far as I'm aware, though, there are no strong adult-themed Disney
Right.
animations.
At least we can say that largely this is true, not arguable, that largely that's not the case.
Yeah.
Right. So that's why, we still distinguish anime from a lot of cartoons and animated films.
Yes.
Yeah. And, that is why it is crazy international popularity too, because they are different. Right. And, but before we start to talk about anything, I like to say that it is just impossible for us to talk about all the anime films here or TV series, because even if we intend to talk about just important or popular ones, still there are hundreds. So we
Be here all
cannot
night.
really mention everything. But I'd like to start with.
Wait, hang on. Before you start,
Yeah,
what about our intro music? Our theme song?
our theme song.
Just like in anime. You telling me we're not going to have a cutaway of us, like, fighting each other and, obviously we're predispositioned and destined to fight?
Right.
Some cool music?
Yeah, for sure. I'm open to it.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Roll that clip.
Does somebody work for you? I don't think so.
It's just you and I in the car.
So you're telling me to do it.
Now he's getting the message.
But I think it's important to touch on the history briefly, right? Because that's going to give us better understanding of, the subject anime here, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. You have to know where you came from to actually have a rich understanding of the complexity.
Mhm.
It's easy to just pull from what we know right now
Mhm.
with our bias.
Yeah.
You can miss out on a lot of things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. So I think, it is not so meaningful, in my opinion, to all the way go back to where, sort of this animated or animation industry started. It's kind of relevant, but I think that's not very meaningful. But, we can go pretty close to the beginning when Toei Company was founded in 1956. So after World War II, the guy named Okawa Hiroshi, he was so impressed by the first Disney's full feature film, Snow White,
Mm-hmm.
in 1937, if I'm not mistaken. He was so impressed by it that he founded the company with a mission to be the Disney of the East. So I find this very interesting because Japanese they developed almost all industries in that way. Copying first, learn first, and then create their own. But those become, I don't want to say superior, but excellent.
Yeah.
Let's think about electronics. At first, largely they copied a lot of Western products.
Yeah.
But Sony, has become, one of the best electronics company in the world.
Yeah, for
and
generations.
The same thing goes to automobile companies too.
Yeah.
Toyota, right? And so that's why it is so interesting that even anime developed in that way too. This guy was so impressed by Disney's, Snow White. By the way, what I was told about this Snow White is that when Walt Disney wanted to make this film, everybody was against it. Dude, that's crazy. That's so expensive. What are you doing? But just like a many breakthrough in the history,
You have to take the risk.
you have to take the risk, and nobody really saw the value at first.
Yeah.
Right? The T model by Ford. Everybody thought that is crazy. Why are you doing that? That's so stupid. You that expensive, and then you can carry only 4 people.
Yeah.
Whereas,
trains.
Yeah, trains. Look at
thinking?
that. But it just changed the world, right?
Entirely.
Yeah. So I that's why I found it really interesting. Even anime developed that way.
I think a big part of that is because, you might be dealing with the same ingredients, but the cook is different, so he can use those ingredients in a different way. In this situation, the cook's different because he's Japanese, so he has a lot of tendencies and culture within him that are going to essentially produce a different meal with the ingredients.
Yeah.
You can see somebody like, dude, that food looks amazing. Where are the ingredients? I want to know how to make that.
Yeah.
And then he can put his own twists and turns on it. Maybe use a little more salt, a little less pepper, salt, and all these different things. And then you get something that's an entirely different product just by varying those degrees.
Yeah. So basically, I think briefly talked about this before about postmodernism. That's sort of the very essence of postmodernism, right? It's it is not only creating a new value, but recreating the existing value, right? So in that sense, anime really fits that the characteristic of postmodernism.
Yeah, I would agree. They've stepped out on their own limb to create that and then reassociate it properly for that culture, and wow, it's had a huge impact. It's nobody doesn't know what anime is.
Right.
At least in the U.S. and probably worldwide for the most part. Yeah, you may not have watched it, but it's in the zeitgeist. You're aware of it, and that's powerful. And just think, only there was 1907 was the first they draw it back to. So roughly 100 years, it now dominates an industry.
Yeah.
And has a strong presence, especially among young people in the U.S.
Yeah, 100%.
And it's just going to grow and change more and more.
Yeah. I was going to talk about a little further in history, but I think it's not important but it'll be interesting to talk about your favorite anime before we get into this.
Oh, my favorite? I hate being put on the spot. So I don't see things in such binary terms, buddy.
Well, what are the favorites?
Okay, one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Has to be Death Note.
Okay.
It's basically Sherlock Holmes, anime styled, in a very creative and unique way.
Right.
And I think anybody, if you have an interest in anime, you like a good story, that's the one to check out. Because you'll forget you're watching anime. That's how good the story is.
Yeah.
And they've done so many adaptations of it. I'm sure some of you saw the Netflix adaptation. Shit sucks so bad, man. It was so bad. You have such a great story, and you literally just can't do a shot-for-shot remake. Why not? So for me, it may be not the most impressionable one by any means.
Yeah.
But one that I constantly think back on and recommend to people because of how brilliant the story was.
Yeah.
Plus, I mean, the geniuses battling it out. There's moral questions, ambiguity, and a lot of things that are just tied to philosophy as well. And they explore those concepts in a new and unique, interesting way. And it's just cool to see that play out via animation.
100%.
How about you?
I was gonna move on.
Yeah, see that?
I mean, I have so many, but with some recent spice, One Punch Man for sure. Because first of all, without its story, the visual it reminded me of Dragon Ball a lot. Yeah, so that's why I liked it a lot. But also the story is crazy. I mean, so funny. And
really funny.
Yeah, it says also satire for I don't know exactly white collar man, but the working class, So I really like that. And currently I'm watching Demon Slayer. I mean, obviously I love that.
That was your Halloween costume, right? Who were you from Demon Slayer?
One of the Hashiras with white hair and scar on his face, but yeah.
So if you want to see that picture, let us know.
Pleasure members only.
Wow, now that sounds sexual or something. You have to pay for it to see this picture? Seems weird, man.
Yeah. But going back to the history, so the toy company, surprisingly, they had a lot of, now we know the legends, great talents at the moment. One of them was Miyazaki Hayao. Right.
I mean, everybody listening to this, if you know anime, you've probably seen a Miyazaki film.
Yeah.
Or that name because of the fame.
At least know his work.
Yeah.
Yeah. But also, I mean, obviously he co-founded Studio Ghibli later. But anyway, so after the time, I'm gonna jump onto the next biggest moment in the history of anime, which was, in my opinion, the first Japanese TV anime series, which was Tetsuwan Atomu, better known as Astro Boy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so the significance of this in the industry of anime is that, again, it was the first TV series, but also it was a mega hit. And it really started an anime boom, and merchandising became entrenched as a big part of the industry. Yeah.
So they showed it could be successful.
Oh, yeah.
They basically broke that barrier.
But still they had a lot of problems, especially high production costs. That's why they started merchandising and all that.
Yeah, I mean, this was a time period when every scene was physically drawn by hand.
Yeah.
You didn't have computer-assisted programs to actually
Right. And the crazy thing is that still, that's how a lot of animes are created today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big teams or...
Yeah, that's why, even put aside all the, stories and, the genres, still visually, they look so different. I think that's why. I don't know, honestly, Demon Slayer's created that way because it looks so different. But at least a lot of them are still today created that way.
Yeah. Demon Slayer's the number one grossing now in the world.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Beat of all of Miyazaki's films and everything. Wow. Granted, there's a larger percentage of the population engaging.
Right.
So it's not like necessarily a fair representation 1-to-1, but that should speak volumes to how many people actually enjoy anime now. And you've put me on to some of the Demon Slayer, but I haven't watched it. But yeah, the animation style is very different, and the fight scenes are, from what I've seen, pretty incredible.
Yeah.
A lot of detail, a lot of color, and contrast and saturation. Beautiful. Yeah. Very well done.
And the creator of Astro Boy, Tezuka Osamu, he's called the god of manga. And I like to give him a lot of credit because at the time, they suffered a lot because of a high production cost, but he reinvested his income from manga publishing. So, I mean, in a way, he kind of saved the entire industry. I mean,
wow.
Yeah. So, I give him a lot of credit for that.
Wow. God of manga, huh? I've never heard of this god.
Yeah, I mean,
I guess I'm just uncultured swine, though.
Yeah. That's this week's short version of the episode of the Art of Living podcast. Thank you for listening with us. We're Lafayette and Kai. Don't forget to join us next week for another episode.
And if you'd like to help support us, we have a Patreon page where you can subscribe for exclusive content, early access, and full versions of the podcast.
Also, please share it with others who you think may find value in our discussion.
Leave a rating, a review, and please subscribe.
Thank you again.
See you next time.